Welcome in, everybody. We're just going to give it a minute, 30 seconds or so to let a few more people join before we get started this morning. Okay, I see there's still a couple people trickling in, but we'll let them kind of keep piling in and go ahead and get us kicked off for this morning. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining us. Good morning to everyone. Really excited to have you for this webinar all about meeting market demand for sustainability. This is a hotel-focused webinar, and we're going to be covering tools, programs, and certifications that exist in our industry for hotels. So let's go ahead and get started by introducing myself and our other speakers for today. First, I'll be kicking us off to get started, but we'll also be joined today by Kirsten Pierce, who leads strategic initiatives and conferences and events with AHLA. She'll be giving us an overview of their responsible stay program and some other resources that are available in our local national industry for hotels. And then also Neil Daftery, who leads market development at Green Key Global, and he'll be kind of giving us the spiel on the value of certifications. But first, I'm going to kick us off by giving the DMO perspective from Destination DC, which is, of course, the importance of sustainability at the strategy level for hotels, the ways that DDC supports this work, and then the resources that we know are available from our city for our city's businesses. Or in simpler terms, we're going to attempt to answer how this topic can help you capture more guest spending, reduce overhead costs, and be proactive as this topic continues to evolve. So we're going to start with what guests are looking for and how you can position your property to meet that demand. We hear year over year that traveling more sustainably is important to travelers, and younger generations tend to tip those scales of importance more than the older generations. But this year, we are also seeing that data suggests there is a gap between what people will say they will do and then what they actually do, which I know, shocker. But what's most revealing here is that the gap is the smallest among boomer travelers and widest among those in Generation Z, suggesting that actions still speak louder than words here, and it's still incredibly important to know what your customers' actual behavior on property is. That's the most valuable piece. Travelers say reducing waste and energy and having information about sustainable forms of transportation as really important and what they are most willing to action. And then they also mention that booking properties with a sustainability certification is one behavior that they feel meets their demand for more sustainable travel. So what I personally gleaned from all of this is that travelers are ready to travel more sustainably, but often still need a little push. So promoting your hard work in this space through existing channels like off-season deals and addressing seasonality, your loyalty programs through your brand, or other incentives are ways that capture that leisure demand. Of course, the demand is not just coming from the transient side. So in a PCMA study, 60% of planners stated that they include sustainability requirements in their RFP, and that's up from 31% the year prior. So that is a huge jump. And again, we see here that communication and visibility appear important to this segment as well, as growing numbers look to find hotels that have verified their work through things like certifications and then show up in obvious visual sustainability features in the room and in the common spaces of the property. And all these stats that I've shared so far have been from global studies, but we also have very local proof as well. At DDC, we actually track the mentions of sustainability in all of the RFPs that we receive. And the evidence is increasingly clear that demand is rising among the very RFPs that each one of your properties have received in the past 5 years. It's truly not something that we can ignore at this point. So how do we respond to all of that demand? DDC Sustainability District is a promotional program that celebrates our local businesses going above and beyond when it comes to sustainability. And that takes a three-pronged approach among social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Since 2023, we have onboarded 89 total DDC members to this program, which is great. And that includes 35 hotel properties. And all of those 35 hotels are listed on the screen here. Though this program is still developing, these properties have had opportunities like exclusive inclusion in room blocks for events like DC Climate Week and callouts in our bid books and the proposals that go back to planners. We are always exploring new opportunities to raise the profile of your sustainability efforts, and we're also always welcome to hear your thoughts on that. Specifically, some of those efforts include social, economic, and environmental impact initiatives and programs, a sample of which are included right now on the screen. Notably, the really broad range of criteria means that properties that focus on just one of those prongs more than the other, perhaps, are not actually penalized. We appreciate any and all of the work that's being done to improve the well-being of this whole city's look at the residents, the businesses, and our natural spaces. And as mentioned, we featured your sustainability stories on our website and places like our sustainability content hub, and then, of course, the dedicated sustainability district pages and maps that we can provide planners, as well as in earned and paid media through opportunities like industry publications that you'll recognize and really fun creative things like Earth Day partnerships with different content creators in the district. Again, we're always exploring ways to get the word out about your work to the visitors and the meeting attendees that we now know want more. So those are some of our strategies for winning more business, but you can also look at the other side of that scale and reduce some of those overhead costs through things like capital improvements and people-first strategies. I've pulled just one example of our 35 properties that measured the impact of their renovations. On the left side of the screen, you'll see some of the initiatives that qualified them for the Sustainability District program. And then on the right is the impact that those initiatives had on the property. As you can see, even when welcoming more guests to the property, streamlined, efficient upgrades to utility systems actually brought down the environmental and financial burden for the property. So these things can really add up, and measuring absolutely is managing in this case. And I know some of these investments will come from your management group or the property owners, but also know that there are resources from the city that are meant to support this work as well. Guides related to food donation and composting help businesses find partners that can manage and haul excess food, which saves it from landfills, and of course also sometimes goes towards helping local people. I also want to take a moment here to call out that you as a business are very protected when looking at donating excess banquet food. There's multiple layers of legislation that protects any liability from the donator of food going towards other people. So that's not something that we're fortunate in DC to be very protected from. And then of course, other ways of funding, there's dedicated web pages on the Department of Energy and Environment's website that are updated very frequently with funding opportunities and different kinds of incentives for your business. So be sure to bookmark this and check here frequently. And keeping in mind that sustainability encompasses the whole well-being of your business and community, as I've mentioned a couple times, it's also important to look at other opportunities for reducing costs. One example may be staff turnover or investment in new team members. Our affiliated nonprofit, Next DC, empowers the next generation of hospitality workers. Choosing interns or early career team members from a pool of applicants like our Next DC interns means choosing people who are familiar with the industry and, most importantly, familiar with DC as a product. There is a lot less ground to cover in training when your teams come in passionate about these basics already. I'll close out my portion here with a reminder that so far we have been reacting to the demand that already exists. So how can we be a little bit more proactive moving forward? In our first ever survey of DC residents this past summer, we were pleased to learn that overall, our community is very supportive of our industry, with only 1% associating the tourism industry with negative impacts. To put that into context, when I see other cities do this, comparable large urban cities, that number is somewhere closer to 10%. So we're actually doing really well with, in regards to our city's residents. But looking a bit deeper, we learned that we're doing so well because they see our visitors and industry as respecting our people, our local businesses, and our natural assets. Ensuring that our work continues to benefit these three areas will keep our residents happy with the work that we do, which is one of the most important elements to all of this sustainability stuff. Looking into the not so far future, we also know that there's legislation coming from places like the EU, UK, and Canada around truthful sustainability marketing. As properties craft sustainability messaging, it will be vital to make sure that none of the language, imagery, or impacts of your claims can be considered vague or misleading. We may not be subject to rules like this in the US, but we do attract those international markets, and it's important to note that they will be savvy to things like greenwashing and misleading claims. And I've mentioned certifications as one way to instill confidence in consumers. They are also important to us for other reasons as well. Every year, DVC benchmarks our sustainability work against roughly 100 other global destinations. Just one of the criteria that we are measured on is the percentage of rooms in DC that carry a third-party sustainability certification. The very good news is that we are steadily progressing year over year here. And progress like this helps us maintain what we are very proud to claim is the #1 spot among participating US destinations. And that's been true for the last 5 years. So this work helps makes DC an attractive option for those that are sustainability minded, transient, and meeting visitors like those that we heard from their demand at the top. And with that, I am now going to turn it over to Kirsten and Neil to talk about how their own work is designed to benefit your properties. Take it away, Kirsten.
Shelby, thank you. And thank you to the Destination DC team. I'm going to start things off just with some context. So if I were in front of you in an audience, I would have you raise your hands to say, does anyone know what that we're only born scared of two things? And what are those things? We're born scared. It's not of snakes. It's not of spiders. We're actually only born scared of loud noises and falling. But we learn to be scared of other things, and we learn to fear things based off of experience. And somewhere along the lines, going green became scary. And you can see that going green is one of those things where I think it's mainly because hotels and the industry, it's overwhelming where to begin. And so that's part of the reason why the American Hotel and Lodging Association created Responsible Stay. Responsible Stay is an initiative that, again, hopefully makes things a little less scary. It was established in 2022 by our association, one, to recognize what the industry was already doing and to help amplify the efforts that were underway. And it was also an ability to give the industry resources, and whether it doesn't matter where a hotel is on their journey, the Responsible Stay initiative is to give you resources sort of every step of the way. And so the initiative is based off of 4 main pillars, as you can see here: waste, water, sourcing, and energy efficiency. And the resources that we have available fall under each of these pillars. And I'm going to walk through each of these with you so you know what they are, and also so you understand where to begin and what you can use today. So starting with reducing food waste. Hotel Kitchen, as is an initiative that we launched with the World Wildlife Fund back in 2017. And as you experience daily, food waste is both an operational challenge and it's a business opportunity for hotels. And so we have seen that hotels that have implemented the hotel kitchen program, they've seen reductions of anywhere from 20 to 40% of reducing food waste just in the first few months of implementing the hotel kitchen program. And so you'll see on the next slide, it's a hotel specific hub resource, and the platform gives tools specifically for everyone on property. Doesn't matter whether you're front of house or back of house, but it's for operators, F&B teams, meetings and events teams. And the platform was recently just refreshed to make things a lot easier for the team. And it includes very clear guidelines and best practices, an online training workspace to help staff members and employees track their progress as they start to implement these resources. And so for you, you can start with simple, actionable tools. There's a 16-week champions guide. There's the food waste audit and checklists that the team can implement, and they're all free resources and they're all available online, and you can easily download them and share them with your teams. So moving on to both the energy and the water pillar. So AHLA has a sustainability committee, and one of the initiatives coming out of the committee was the need to help give a tool for the industry around a guideline around energy and water savings. And it, again, is designed to help support hotels of all kinds, no matter where they are in their journey. And the tool it's actually a resource that you can download, and it helps you discover ways that you can reduce your utility costs, minimize environmental impact through conservation and more efficient resource use. The great thing about it, as you can see here with the phases, is it allows you to see what allows you to identify what is a no-cost initiative, a low-cost initiative, and what might be a higher capital expenditure or investment. And that allows you to plan what can you do, especially if it's a no-cost. What can you do today? What can you plan for later this year? And then also what can you look to try to budget for in the future years to implement that might be that higher cost piece. Now moving to responsible sourcing. We work with an organization called Procure Impact, and Procure Impact helps hospitality companies expand the representation of underrepresented suppliers that they use on property. It gives you the ability to use your purchasing power to uplift overlooked communities. So whether it's finding locally made gifts or amenities, or locally sourced or locally made treats to add into your snack bar, and they are from communities locally and they are from parts of the community that perhaps could be domestic abuse survivors, trafficking survivors, and whatnot. And so it's a B2B marketplace that allows you to identify ways to support your local community and also the broader community for underrepresented populations. Hotels can also, before we move on, hotels can actually sign on to a dignity of work pledge to show that they are pledging a certain amount of their suppliers to more of the responsible sourcing and to underserved communities. So again, you can log on, you can take a look, and you can take the pledge as a property, or you can just work with Procure Impact to see what suppliers you might be interested in. And then one of the final tools that we have available, although we're always expanding, is Incentive Find. Incentive Find is a tool that allows you to identify what sustainable grants and incentives are available based off of your address and your building size. And so it's a report that you can download, and it gives you a report saying, here is the amount of money that you can receive if you implement certain green initiatives on property. So again, that's available through the Responsible Stay website, and you can check that out. And lastly, so a part of the Responsible Stay initiative, our members said, thank you, it's great that you've given us these resources, but there still is some confusion in the marketplace about where to go for certifications. And it's great to see that there are already so many DC properties that have a certification. But we know years ago, our members said, but but which one do we go to? And it's beyond just the brick and mortar. We know that LEED certification exists, but that only looks at the structure of the building. It overlooks the operations. And so we took that initiative from or we took that guidance from our members to identify what certification should the industry use when trying to get certified for hotel operations. And so we identified an already established organization called Green Key Global. It was created by hoteliers for hoteliers by Hotels Canada over 30 years ago. And we knew that they were already established and they were already working with some of our major brands that and hotels already in North America. And so back in 2024, AHLA entered into a joint venture to co-own Green Key Global with Hotels Canada to bring this certification into the US. And so with that, I'm going to pass it off to Neil to talk about the certification and how you can get involved.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kirsten, thank you so much, and Destination DC team, thank you for having us on this call today. We've heard today about the growing demands from travelers, meeting planners, and corporate buyers, and how organizations such as Destination DC and AHLA are helping advance sustainability across the industry. The question many hotels ask is, where do we start and how do we demonstrate our efforts in a credible way? So that's where Green Key Global comes in. Green Key is the hospitality industry leading sustainability certification program. We're helping hotels turn sustainability goals into measurable operational practices and verified results. Green Key has been helping hotels measure and improve sustainability performance for more than 30 years. Today, we work with nearly 3,000 hotels across North America, including many of the industry's leading brands, management companies, ownership groups, and destinations. What makes Green Key unique is that it was created by hoteliers for hoteliers. The program is designed around the hotel operations and the realities of running a hotel. As you can see from this slide, from the various statistics, we're seeing that sustainability across is becoming more of a business requirement. Travelers care about it, meeting planners are asking for it in their RFPs, corporate travel buyers have sustainability expectations. And many brands and management companies have established their own ESG commitments for their properties. And so what that means is obviously the sustainability is no longer a separate initiative. It's becoming part of how hotels compete for business. So you may be wondering, what's the impact of certification? Earlier, Shelby highlighted how Destination DC is helping position Washington as a leader in sustainable tourism and meetings. Kirsten shared how Responsible Stay is providing industry resources and guidance. Green Key complements both by helping hotels validate their efforts through a third-party certification. When you add that together, Destination DC creates awareness and demand, Responsible Stay provides a framework, and Green Key helps hotels demonstrate measurable action. For hotels, that means that it translates to stronger RFP competitiveness, greater credibility with planners and guests, and operational efficiencies, and increased visibility in the marketplace. One misconception that we hear in the marketplace is that sustainability certification is only for large hotels with dedicated sustainability teams. Well, the reality is that most hotels are already doing many of these things today. Green Key helps organize, document, measure, and validate those efforts. We provide tools, templates, resources, one-on-one support, and vendor connections throughout the process. Once you're a member of Green Key, many of our vendors have exclusive promotions that when partnering with them, you can get your certification fees subsidized. So our eco rating system, how do we evaluate and what do we evaluate? So we look at 5 core areas of the hotel operations. That's engineering, housekeeping, food and beverage, meeting and event space, corporate environmental management. So sustainability, as you can see, sustainability is not just one department's responsibility. It touches every aspect of the hotel operations, and it encourages every single employee and member of the staff to participate in the process. A popular question that we commonly get is, what if my property doesn't have an F&B or a meeting space? Well, that's completely fine and okay, because you can property that doesn't have those at the property level can opt out of those areas without having points being deducted. On our eco rating system, properties are awarded between 1 and 5 green keys, and it's purely based on their performance. What's important to understand in this is that the certification is about progress and not perfection. It creates a practical and achievable starting point for hotels beginning their sustainability journey. Now, this is where our member journey starts from start to finish and what that looks like. So a member property uh, begins by signing up online through greenkeyglobal.com. They take the self-assessment questionnaire. They receive a preliminary evaluation, and at that point in time, a property can look at the results and see that if should they wish to continue and try to increase and get higher points, they can revisit their self-assessment and achieve for a higher points. So once that's finalized, once all your documents have been uploaded, you will submit that information, and it goes to Control Union, which is our third-party independent audit company, which will conduct the audit for the property. Most of these audits are completed virtually, making the process both efficient and accessible. However, there's also an option for in-person virtual or in-person audit as well, should a property wish to pursue that. Next slide, please. As far as the program fees and fee structure, so the investment is intentional. It's designed to be accessible for all hotels of all sizes, whether you're in an independent property with 20 to 30 rooms to a large-scale property. We've structured the fees so that it's accessible by everyone. And what that means for most properties, that with the operational savings and business opportunities coming from having certification, you can quickly outweigh the cost of the participation of the program. So you may again ask, why partner with Green Key? Well, so Green Key is the only industry-backed, industry-approved certification program built specifically for hospitality. Beyond certification, members gain access to resources, onboarding support, education, marketing opportunities, and a framework that helps hotels continuously improve their sustainability performance. For destinations and industry organizations, our certification helps strengthen the overall sustainability ecosystem and provides additional value to members. One of the biggest pieces of feedback we received was the need for a simpler entry point. And so in early 2026, we introduced our core criteria pathway, which allows properties to achieve certification by meeting 37 foundational sustainability requirements. The requirements are can be accessible online through our website at greenkeyglobal.com. They're very clear. We have supporting documentation and templates to help you answer those questions, and we've reduced the complexity in the overall self-assessment questionnaire. We wanted to definitely highlight the members that are already in our program in the DC area and have already committed to sustainability and have achieved their certification. So thank you for the properties that's listed on the screen for your commitment and for your stewardship and leadership in the sustainability world. Okay, I'll pass it now on to Kirsten. Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. I can't get my video to work, but that's okay. So as Neil shared, that's one place to start on your journey. So you can take the Green Key assessment, and that can be where you start today or this week. But there's a lot of other ways that you can start on your journey, whether it's with the hotel kitchen, with incentivizing to see what you're eligible for, or just simply creating the team on property if you don't already have one created. So between the two of us, between Responsible Stay and Green Key, and which you'll see on the next slide, both how to get involved with Green Key, how to reach out to Neil, but also how you can tap into the resources on Responsible Stay. hopefully with what we shared today, it has made sustainability and going green feel a little less scary and overwhelming. So with that, Shelby, we'll pass it back off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten and Neil. Uh, I love hearing about the resources that are available, especially these, because at least in this field of sustainability, so much of what we hear about comes from Europe, from overseas. And so it's great to have a case that is presented with the North American perspective, where the North American travelers are more familiar with some of these brands and names. And it's just kind of getting to our bread and butter demographics and markets. So thank you again for joining us today and letting us all know about the resources that are available within our industry, and pretty much in our own backyard too. So very much appreciate that. So I kind of teased a proof of concept, and now I'd like to turn it over actually to one of our hoteliers who was kind enough to volunteer to share a little bit of a testimonial about what it's been like working with DDC, AHLA, and Green Key Global on all of these programs so far. So I'm going to now introduce Eric from the Darcy Hotel, who is going to share a little bit about his experience.
Well, thank you so much, Shelby. I appreciate that. And hi, everybody. And thanks so much for allowing me to speak with you today. I'm here representing the Darcy Hotel. We're a European-style boutique property on Scott Circle, just steps from the White House, and what we like to say, unapologetically DC. We also like to describe ourselves as an authentic, locally inspired experience where guests can really connect with the city, and sustainability is a big part of that. So for us, sustainability isn't a separate initiative. It's built into how we run the hotel and how we tell our story. And that's one of the reasons we've leaned into all the initiatives of the program that we've been talking about here today. So starting with Destination DC Sustainability District, we're new to the program, and it has honestly been a great framework for us. We're really looking forward to participating in the trainings, attending the roundtables, and continuously improving how we operate across things like local sourcing, waste reduction, and community impact. At the Darcy, that shows up in really tangible ways, whether it's supporting local vendors, offering plant-forward dining options, or making it easier for guests to explore DC sustainably, like with our complimentary bikes. I also love that the program gives our team a common language to talk about sustainability so that we can approach this together instead of in departmental silos. We're also part of AHLA's Responsible Stay program, which helps connect what we're doing here in DC to a bigger national movement. And that's been especially helpful when working with corporate clients who are looking for consistency and alignment across all markets. Energy efficiencies, water conservation, waste reduction, responsible sourcing, all of the things we're focused on and talking about today all come into play. And then there's Green Key Global Certification, which has been huge for us from a credibility standpoint. As you all know, it's one thing to say you're sustainable. It's another to have a third party validate it. So we went with Green Key because it is recognized across the industry, and especially with North American travelers and clients. So from a sales and marketing perspective, though, this all really matters for two big reasons. First, customer demand. We're absolutely seeing more RFPs that include sustainability questions, and clients want to know what we're doing, how we're measuring it, and whether it's verified. And having these programs in place makes it so much easier to answer those questions with confidence. And secondly, winning business. We've genuinely seen sustainability become a deciding factor. When a planner is choosing between similar hotels in DC, name dropping recognizable programs can really make a difference. It gives them confidence that their event aligns with their organization values, and it demonstrates a commitment from the property to meet that need. So all of these things help us operate better and also help us compete better. And I'd say one more thing to the group, there's real value in being part of the community that comes with these programs, whether it's sharing ideas at DDC roundtables, benchmarking through AHLA, or Green Key, you're not doing it alone. And at the Darcy, we see sustainability as part of delivering a better guest experience. It strengthens our team culture, and it keeps us relevant in a really competitive market. So if you're thinking about getting involved, I definitely encourage you to take the step. It's really made a difference for us in the short time we've been working with them. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Eric. It's great to hear from a property that's actually worked with all three of these programs. So it's kind of a unique perspective that you're able to lend that we're really grateful that you were able to share with that today. All right, as we are closing up, I want to give you a heads up that we will have time for Q&A at the end for Kirsten, Neil, and myself. So go ahead and start thinking about those because we are coming to the end of the program for today. And to wrap us up, I just kind of want to give us an even larger 30,000 foot view on what it is that we're talking about here today and the city that we're doing it within. So DC is actually a really advantageous place to be speaking about all of these things because of the efforts from our city's residents, from our city's agencies, and how much investment the city has put towards sustainability over the last decade or so. We all know that we were the first LEED Platinum city in the world. We'll never stop ringing that from the rooftops, but and it's probably also pretty well known that we're consistently ranked the #1 park system in the world, or in the country, excuse me. But there's so many other assets that I have on this slide here that share why this city is one that we can make these sustainability investments in, and it won't just kind of be an outlier or fall on deaf ears. So it's one that it's my goal within Destination DC and for this greater industry to make sure that the industry is keeping lockstep with all of the other investments happening into making Washington a great place to live, visit, and meet. So we talked about a lot of resources today on this call, and we're not going to leave you hanging. There is a prepared resource guide that links to almost everything that we talked about on this webinar. This will be available to you in the follow-up thank you email that you should receive later this week or early next, along with the recording of this webinar. And this will also live evergreen on the member extranet. So logging in to DVC's member extranet, it'll be available under member extranet, partner bulletins, and then there is a sustainability resources tab that you can look into to see all of the other stuff that we've produced to help you on your journey here. And then finally, if you can't get enough of the content, we will be having a sustainability and accessibility roundtable event later next month. This will be at District Winery, 8 o'clock in the morning, a little early for a glass of wine, but who's to judge? We'll be discussing some of the actual work that you all have been doing, sharing resources with one another. It's a very peer-to-peer level conversation. Max 50 capacity. Those invites are out, so be sure to look in your inbox to make sure you've received that and click attend before we sell out. And then, of course, a little bit later down the line, we have our annual marquee marketing outlook meeting. This is for all the people who appreciated the data that was served up earlier today. There's plenty more of that where that came from at marketing outlook meeting, and we would love to see you there. The invites for those have already been sent out as well, so do please register for both of these events. And with that, I will turn it over to you all. If there's any questions in the chat or in the Q&A, we'd love to hear what you have to say. And if not, you also always know how to reach us. Neil's contact information was shared earlier in this presentation, and you can always reach myself and the membership team at membership@washington.org. So to my team, are there any questions from any of our audience members? I'm looking as well. And I'm not seeing anything, but as I mentioned, you always know where to find us. We're always willing and wanting to help you with all of your sustainability related questions. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining. You all have a great rest of your day.